Okay, so I'm making this video based on things I've seen online that do something like time lapse photography, showing how a piece of art uh, begins and works all the way through to the conclusion, and they speed it up, so you can kind of watch it be animated like that. Because who wants to watch someone paint for 10 hours? Just a little bit more interesting than watching paint dry, frankly. But if you speed it up, wow, like a cartoon. Well, anyways, so batteries permitting, because they give out, I'm going to try to record all of this large work uh, that I began yesterday, and unfortunately, I did not videotape myself putting my wife's hubcaps and bolts on a piece of plywood out front on top of a couple sawhorses, and then using silver paint, spray paint, and then black spray paint in kind of a stenciling way, where these things, she was painting those hubcaps silver anyway. I said, put them on this piece of paper so that I can get the paint you don't use on the paper. And it left a very cool pattern, and the little circles that you see on it in one corner were the locking bolts that hold those hubcaps on her car. But anyways, I didn't videotape that, so you don't get to see how that worked, but I'm guessing you get it, But anyways, from this point on, I'm going to try to continue recording each stage. I've completed 2. The stenciling stage came first. I had to let it dry. I live in northern North Carolina near the Virginia border, and it's 2022. The weather has been so crazy that you just never know when the sky's going to open up on you. And I usually do my art out in the front yard, on top of a couple of sawhorses and a piece of plywood, because I like sunlight. But that can be dangerous. Honest to God, you go in the house to get a cup of coffee and come up and it can be pouring rain. And it wasn't when you went in. So anyways, so I did the initial stenciling procedure with spray paint. Spray paint dries pretty quick. Good spray paint dries more slowly. And then I let it set down there at the far end of the porch. The thing's too big to bring in the house, and plus I don't want the house to smell like spray paint while it's drying. So anyways, I left it out here. Of course, it got warped to pieces, as all earthly things seem to do at some point. And but that's okay, because I know I can press it between a couple of pieces of plywood, and terribly expensive to frame this thing. I hope I can sell it to somebody that can afford to frame it. But anyways, yeah, so that was stage 1. Let it dry. Got a few things done today. Pulled it back out. It is going to rain pretty soon. It's super damp already. It's coming. But I was able to do all the stuff you saw today. And what I'm using mostly, the first step was I was using this product that I love. It's Minwax Helmsman Spar Varnish. And it's the kind of stuff that people who own wooden boats use to waterproof the hull, the part that's in the water. And it's a hell of a waterproofer, and it also, depending upon how thickly you put it on and on what surface you put it, it can add a really cool, almost sepia tone, glossy surface feature to whatever's underneath, and plus the brownness of the varnish inevitably takes the white out of anything, and it affects the colors that you've already put down. And you're going to see a lot of different techniques, none of which are foreplanned, but just rather I have here. I'll show you. Down here at the far end of my porch, kind of is my outdoor stuff studio, as it were. I keep a lot of things. There's some art on the top there. I keep a lot of supplies on this set of shelves, as well as those down there. I got a cabinet down there in which a lot of stuff can put. And so this is where I store my stuff, but outdoors is where to work for me. I just like sunlight. I understand the vagaries of humidity and weather and stuff. I've heard that Don Van Vliet liked to paint outdoors too, Captain Beefheart, when he was alive. Um, Except that he didn't like sunlight. He painted at night, which is kind of interesting to me. Um, it seems like an obvious thing to try to do. I mean, you know, children would more likely think of doing something like that. Well, gee, I wonder what a picture would look like if I went out and drew it at night. And of course, Don Van Vliet, Captain Beefheart, was very childlike in a lot of ways, at least in terms of his impulses, and unfortunately also his temperament. You know, kind of tantrum bound, but still his body of musical and you know, visual art is pretty impressive, you know, nonetheless. A fabulous abstract expressionist painter, no doubt about it. Why am I talking about him? I don't know. But anyways, I'm going to turn this off, but I just wanted to explain what's coming, what I forgot to do in advance of delivering what I'm telling you is coming, so that you might understand the rest of it. And, you know, people say, like, you know, how do you do this? How do you do that? Well, usually I just sort of, I see a space, a shape, or a line, and I don't know. Something about the observing of the thing quite often very automatically says, you need to use this, be it a brush or a stylus or a fork or something, in order to get it to the place that you haven't thought of yet that's the good place. And so you see me picking up a lot of stuff. I like to use fabric paint because it's very malleable, and it's also water-based, so you can kind of do cool things with it. It mixes well with other colors, and you can feather it, which you'll see me doing, and you can make very bold, thick lines, and it's available with variants like puffy fabric paint, which actually becomes three-dimensional when it dries and leaves like a bead, which is very nice because there will be a shadow next to it if there's light coming in from a, you know, an acute direction and hitting the surface of this thing. It'll cast a shadow, and that's cool. Like, I can know that in advance, that I can make shadows happen on this. And Minwax, fabric paint. I also use a lot of Rust-Oleum, little cans of Rust-Oleum oil-based enamel paint. You can't get a better gloss on a surface than that, in my opinion. I haven't owned acrylics or oil paints since I, honest to God, came home from Korea in 1990. I've never since bought actual art paint. It's really expensive, and after having, you know, lived and worked and served over in Korea for 4 years, where I could buy, no lie, Colgate toothpaste tube sized tubes of oil paint, any color, for $1 a tube. I know this was 30 years ago, but still, even then that was extremely cheap. I mean, something like a yellow, cadmium yellow maybe, would cost you $40 for a tube that size over here. So, you know, I stocked up on a lot of oil paint when I was in Korea, and rolls of canvas, big huge rolls of canvas. And when I exhausted those materials, I didn't get any more. You know, I bought some canvases in the last couple. Actually, my wife has bought me some canvases in the last couple of years, and I've done things with them. But I don't know. It's weird to be an artist and just not be very interested in traditional art supplies. But it's also liberating. I've found things in hardware stores and even in, you know, big box stores, hardware departments, that I never ever knew existed, such as the spar varnish, which now I've been using for about 20 years, especially on wooden wall assemblages and things like that, you know, to make the colors fast. I saw it and I thought, wow, if it works for boats, probably work for my stuff. And if you've ever walked around my yard, you'll notice that I exhibit a lot of my stuff outdoors with absolutely no protection because, you know, better out than in. And, you know, all of my art, for as long as it stays with me, it's going to be finite. And I accepted that a very long time ago. If somebody else wants to curate this stuff, God bless you, please do. There's so much of it, and it's more than I can handle. But at any rate, I'm looking forward to working on this large piece and sharing it with y'all, you know, in stages. And when I'm done, I'll try to, you know, compile all these things together and hopefully produce a kind of a cool video documentation of this work, you know, from this morning to a conclusion. Okay, thanks. Okay. We're back. I don't think it's going to rain. And the sun is setting over there. There. So we have really good light.